All right, Unit 5, Video 7, solve by factoring. The difference with this is an equal sign, and you'll get two numeric values for your x, your variable, when you solve. Always rearrange the equation so that it is equal to 0 if it is not already in that form. A lot of times it's already going to be in that form, but remember you have to have it set equal to 0 to be able to solve. Okay, so it asks us to solve x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. So, first thing is we want to make sure it's set equal to 0. Boom, already done. This equation is set equal to 0. Then we're going to factor, okay? So I'm going to factor using the box method, as we've talked about, okay? So I have my x squared here, and I have my minus 15 there. I know I'm multiplying the 1 times the negative 15, which gives me 15, okay? So I'm going to then list my factors of 15, 1, 15, 3, 5. Now, since it is a minus sign, one has to be a negative, one has to be a positive. Well, the only set that is equal to that is that right there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and plug in. I need it to be a minus 5x and a plus 3x to get a minus 2x. Again, next step, I'm going to go ahead and factor out my greatest common factor. So between x squared and 3x, I get an x. Between a negative 5x and negative 15, I get a negative 5. Between x squared and 5x, negative 5x, I get an x. And between a 3x and a negative 15, I get a 3. So it factors to x minus 5, x plus 3. However, I'm not done because this is all equal to 0. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take each set of parentheses and set it equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, and solve for x. You know over here, you're adding 5 to both sides, so x equals 5. And here you're subtracting 3 from both sides, so x equals negative 3. So my two answers, or the two solutions, are x equals 5 and x equals negative 3. So here's another problem. Solve 3x squared plus 7x minus 20 equals 0. So again, right away, it's already solved for 0, so I'm happy there. So I'm going to draw by box method and factor it. So here's my box. Okay, so I have a 3x squared going in this top one. I have a minus 20 going in this bottom one. Well, negative 20 times 3 is a negative 60. So I'm going to list my factors of 60. Okay, so I listed my factors of 60, and I'm looking for when one is a positive and one is a negative, which pair is going to equal 7? Well, the only one pair that equals 7, if one has to be positive, one has to be negative, would be the 5 and the 12. So I'm going to write that up here. Well, that means I need the 12 to be a positive 12x, and I need the 5 to be a negative, minus 5x. So now I'm finding my greatest common factor of each row and each column. So between a 3x squared and a negative 5x is an x. Between a 12x and a negative 20 would be a 4. Between a 3x squared and a 12x would be a 3x. And between a negative 5x and a negative 20 would be a negative 5. So now I have x plus 4, 3x minus 5, and remember, is all equal to 0. So now I'm going to set each of the parentheses equal to 0 and solve for x. So x plus 4 is equal to 0, and 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Do not forget to do both of them. So in this case, x equals negative 4, because I subtracted 4 from both sides. Here I've got to do a little bit more work. I got to add 5, which gives me 3x is equal to 5, and divide both sides by 3, so I get x is equal to 5/3. Okay, here we go again. 2x squared minus x equals 6. Now, first problem. I do not have this equal to 0. Pretty easy, though. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I'm left with 2x squared minus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now I can go ahead and solve it by factoring. I could not do that until it is set equal to 0. It's just a rule that we have to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw the box and start factoring. Okay, so now I have my box drawn. So now I need to take my 2 times negative 6. 2 times negative 6 would be a negative 12. And I need to list out my factors for negative 12. Okay, so I've listed out my factors. We have a 1 and a 12, a 2 and a 6, and a 3 and a 4. Now remember, I'm looking for a negative x. So which pair is going to get me a negative 1 when 1 is a negative, 1 is a positive? Well, the only pair that's going to get me a negative 1 in that case would be the 3 and the 4. So I now need to write up here negative 4x and a positive 3x. So now I have it set up, and now I need to just find the greatest common factor for each row in each column, okay? So for 2x squared and 3x, it's an x. For negative 4x and a negative 6, it would be a negative 2. 2x squared and a negative 4x would be a 2x. And 3x and a negative 6 would be a 3. So now I have them in factored form, which is x minus 2 times 2x plus 3, and remember, is all equal to 0. So now I need to set each set of parentheses equal to 0 and solve for the variable. Okay, so x minus 2 equals 0, add 2 to both sides, x equals 2. Okay, I squish it off to the side, but 2x plus 3 equals 0, subtract 3 from both sides, divide then by 2, and you get x equals negative 3 over 2. So your two answers are x equals 2 and negative 3 over 2. So the two x values you are finding when you solve for x on a quadratic are the two x-intercepts of the graph. In other words, where the graph crosses the x-axis. You can check by graphing the equations into your graphing calculator.